Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center for more severe weather coverage as we have a severe thunderstorm warning in play for Thomas County, Georgia till 7:15. We did have a quick fuse warning from Marion. We're giving you that heads up. They issued the warning right after I went off, but things weakened down quickly. We had a gust right before I went off, actually, that was reported there. It came in right about 6 o'clock or so to about, it looks like, in that upper 40 range. To be precise, actually, I'll go ahead and kind of put my mouse over that, 49 miles an hour there at 5:54. So that was a storm that was severe there, maybe for a moment, but it fell apart real quick. But that storm in Thomas County means business here, folks, because I've been looking on our velocity scans and I'm breaking in because of this, because as we switch you on over right now, we're seeing some very strong winds showing up within our velocity scans of the Doppler radar. You can see here right in Thomasville, right about now, gusting that 50-mile-an-hour range, give or take, moving through town as we speak. So kind of a nasty situation. We're talking about Thomas County, maybe getting into some of this here as well. Moving out of Grady there, and that's what we've seen here over the last little bit. Now the radar will jump some on us, but you can kind of see here some of that movement from Grady in toward Thomas County. So as we look on in here, you do see what I'm talking about here with this axis toward Thomasville. Some of the brighter colors indicative of some of the stronger winds here in this area. So definitely getting some of these stronger winds right now near Westover Avenue, and we just got another radar scan now. So East Jefferson Street getting these stronger winds. Maybe on the north side of town near Dove. It looks like Dove Hill Circle. So going to have to be cognizant. Some of this heavier rain could be getting some of this wind down to the surface depending on where you're at. So that's something to bear in mind here as well as we're looking into toward Thomasville right now here in South Georgia. A severe thunderstorm warning and put a 7:15, a long fuse severe thunderstorm warning compared to what we've seen here out of the Jacksonville office today, as this is a storm in that Thomasville vicinity moving northeast at about 20 miles an hour. Thomasville, Boston, Coolidge, Barwick, Thomasville Municipal Airport, also Dillon, over toward, it looks like Patton, Merrillville, Dawesville there, Newark, depending on, I'm not going to even try to, I guess it would be like New York, New Jersey there, but we're not talking about New Jersey, and then we're talking here actually about South Georgia, and then Pasco, Metcalfe, Hollis, Oaklawn here as well. So again, watching things here toward part of South Georgia. Severe thunderstorm warning in play to about 7:15. So that damage and wind threat could be coming to fruition right now. As we zoom on in here, you can see here some of this wind as we're getting down toward US 84. Maybe getting down to the surface, causing some power outages in isolated areas and some minor damage as well, possibly. As we look at those rainfall amounts, not much yet, but they're going to be adding on up toward Thomasville here. So just got to be aware of that threat here as we're looking at some of our different modes of the Doppler radar once again here. Maybe winds about 55 miles an hour near County Line Road. As we zoom back on out, you do see the grand scheme of things here, not a lot other accent going on, but again, as we get toward Thomas County, Georgia, severe thunderstorm warning in play. A little bit of wind enhancement west of Cairo there, but not too big of a deal overall. This wind, though, right around Thomas County and US 84 is something that could be causing some issues. As you see those brighter colors showing up as we go between the different modes of the Doppler radar. So you got to bear that in mind. Again, that's what we're on right now because of that threat. Jumping back in because of that threat there right around Thomasville, in toward part of Thomas County, Georgia here. And looking at some power outage numbers, 354 customers in the dark in Leon County, 98 in Duval County now. So we did end up seeing Leon jump ahead of Duval in the latest numbers there according to PowerOutage.us. And in southern Georgia there, we are watching the power outage situation as well. Grady County, 711 customers in the dark. 20 customers in the dark in Thomas County so far. Some other counties toward southeast Georgia, a few customers toward Ware and Charlton here in the dark as well. So something to watch out for. Even Decatur County west of Grady there, we did have a few people lose power in that vicinity too. But again, watching things carefully. The reason we're staying on it is because of the higher confidence in damage and wind right over Thomasville right now. if we see this threat kind of falling off, we'll go away here and wrap up the coverage once again. But we gave you the heads up about Thomas County earlier when we were on about the threat maybe trying to develop in that Grady County zone. It kind of weighted overall in terms of getting that velocity signature enough to prompt a warning as it moved into Thomas. But maybe some issues in Grady according to the PowerOutage.us information, at least seeing some customers there in the dark. So again, something to kind of keep our eyes out for. As we zoom back on out now, you see around, it looks like State Route 202 in this as well. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning to 7:15. That's a very long fused warning, so not going to talk the whole time here with that. But again, watching a severe thunderstorm warning here in play in southern Georgia. Watching this here for south central Georgia. The Weather Service in Tallahassee about 15 minutes ago. They see the severe thunderstorm warning for the threat around Thomasville. Pretty highly populated area. So again, watching things, watching those rainfall totals try to add up a little bit here as we go between some different modes of the Doppler radar technology here. Different rainfall modes, trying to see how much of that's adding up. And that warning, Leon County flash flood warning, haven't talked about that on this latest update, but that's going to subside here. That threat already subsiding, but that warning going to go away in the next minute or two. Ponding of water on the southbound lanes, though, it looks like of Capitol Circle there, southeast at Mida Road there was reported known area prone to flooding there. Radar estimated 2.65 inches of rain in an hour at the location. So again, seeing a little bit of lightning popping up still, but not seeing that rainfall too heavy. So that's good. Things subsiding there toward parts of Leon County. As you see though earlier, that some of these areas may be up 4 to 5 inches around Old St. Augustine Road. Again, the area just to the west of that known to flood. Radar estimating about, it looks like the same amount that our actual reports showing. So that's kind of what they're talking about actually here in their statement. Obviously, they're using the same radar technology as we are here in the Weather Center to come up with these amounts. As we zoom back on up here though toward the north toward Thomas County, you see here maybe the organization on radar reflectivity, maybe not quite as much, but there is still some of that here as it pushes on off. Toward areas here further northeast at about 20 miles an hour. So again, watching things carefully here, about 50 mile an hour wind, give or take. Thomas County, according to radar, maybe a little bit weaker than what it was when it went across Thomasville. I'll be curious to hear some of those reports. Again, we gave you the heads up way before there. This is moving through Thomasville when we were in that covered during the 5 o'clock hour for the flash flood warning for areas around Tallahassee. This warning, though, for Thomas County does continue until about 7:15. The latest update just coming in to the Weather Service, coming in from the Weather Service to me here in the Weather Center, into the chat session. Just talking about that 60 mile an hour wind, damaging wind potential. So you have to be cognizant of that here in southern Georgia. Just want to kind of stay tuned to this situation, see what's happening here. Thomasville under this warning. Barwick under this warning here as of that last statement a moment ago. Just waiting for that other statement here to show up in our system. You see this warning probably gone trimmed back a little, and while we see that come on in, you do see the warning to the south, the flash flood warning for parts of Leon County. That has gone away now. That's good news. So we went from 3 warnings, and we had to come on here. We're getting ready to come on. Marion dropped off real quick. The flash flood warning now gone. And then as we get toward Thomas County, you see the updated statement is coming in now at 6:29 there. Severe thunderstorm located near Thomasville, moving northeast at 25 miles an hour. Some damage could occur here in an isolated fashion this time of year with these storms to damage in terms of those roofs there, side and trees. So just got to be mindful there. Again, just watching this in the Thomasville area. You can always report severe weather by contacting your locust. Let me try that again. Your nearest local law enforcement agency. Trying to put 2 words together there, folks. But you can send those reports to the National Weather Service office in Tallahassee. So that's something you can do, of course, when you have a severe thunderstorm warning like this in play. So again, watching this, we'll take a quick break in the coverage. We'll be back in about 5 minutes or so as we continue to watch this. So just remember that when thunder roars, you want to go indoors. Seek shelter inside that sturdy building, as you should be doing here downstream, as it moves off toward the northeast, and just make sure you're staying away from windows. back here in the Weather Center now, 6:36. Still watching that storm there in toward parts of Thomas County, Georgia. And you do see here some brighter colors showing up in our velocity now around Merrillville, indicative of maybe a higher confidence in wind damage occurring here in Thomas County right now. So we have to be cognizant of this threat here. Maybe getting some of that stronger wind down toward the surface. You see that here in toward our storm relative velocity values here as well. So you have to be really careful here around Merrillville. It looks like around some different roads are they getting a little bit tighter. We're talking about Lunsford Street there, so just want to be really kind of watching things carefully in this vicinity. In South Georgia, some lightning there toward Clyde Griffin Road showing up here as well. Hearing some of that thunder, obviously, as you have some even heavier rain coming on into the picture here. That might be where some of the higher wind might actually be reaching down to the surface based on the combination of that rain and wind signature. So you have to be kind of mindful of that threat here. Have to really be careful in toward South Georgia. As I zoom back on out now, you can see here that brighter area showing up pretty well within our velocity table, color table there. And if this holds together, we'll get a new warning for parts of Colquitt County there, as well as looks like as well as Brooks County there too. So gonna have to be really watching this carefully here as we're looking towards South Georgia. You can see here that lightning really clustered together overall. So just be kind of paying attention to what's going on there in that vicinity. Luckily, that's the only warning in town. That storminess near Marion County and Ocala there, that kind of fell apart, so that was good news. But just getting word of a 42-mile-an-hour gust there in it from 616 in the Thomasville area. Thomasville Mesonet warning does continue now at 7:15. That update just came across here as well. Obviously, based on the velocity values we were seeing, that is a more concerning type of signature versus maybe what we were even seeing a little bit earlier on. So that's something you have to just bear in mind here. Kind of keep in the back of your mind as we're watching some different things. Continuing to track the overall scenario here. I'm looking at some other things here behind the scenes as well. I know we're watching the tropics in the Pacific, nothing in the Atlantic to deal with. That's great news, obviously, here. As we're looking ahead toward the timeline, no new tropical cyclones expected in the next 5 days. But I do want to talk about the Pacific real quick while we're on here. So let me go ahead and jump you on over to this. So we'll try to give you a viewpoint here as we zoom on over toward this area. Of course, not dealing with the severe thunderstorm warning threat as we're looking further on off, but you do see as we get here in toward this area, you see we have a tropical storm Guillermo there. That could, in fact, maybe get closer to Hawaii later on, but it's way too early to know for sure there. And then as we get down toward the south, we have Felicia Cat 3. Now, Felicia is a storm here. Felicia is a storm that's had a really well-defined image on satellite. And in fact, as we kind of look at some different things here, I know we've been keeping our eyes on that threat here as we look on over toward the western satellites. You'll be able to kind of see what I'm talking about here. I'll zoom in really tight so you kind of get a look. It's kind of decaying now, but we did have earlier on today, early this morning, for instance, I was looking and we had a more well-defined structure of this here in toward parts of the Pacific. So just thought I'd touch on that real quick while we're on, as we're looking at some different storylines here in the weather world. But let's go ahead and go back on out now. Go back on over toward our local area. You do see here severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Thomas County continuing to 7:15. You'll be able to kind of see what's going on as we're looking over here. Of course, you saw when I switched the satellite off that storm system out there, our Category 3 hurricane, no threat to land. And that's always some good news here when we have something like that occurring with Felicia. But as we look here off toward, again, back to our local area, nothing to do with the tropics with this accent, but some small hail as well as that damaging wind threat here possible as we're looking near Coolidge, 7 miles northeast of Thomasville. You saw what we were talking about a moment ago there around Merrillville and some of the stronger winds as well. So just something to kind of be mindful of here for sure, depending on exactly where the radar is hidden here with this stronger wind potential. So I know right about where I put that little square there is where the Weather Service is most concerned. And then as we go on over toward our velocity mode, once again, you'll still be able to see how we're getting those bright yellow pixels showing up here around Merrillville, indicative of some stronger wind in that vicinity. Those rainfall areas there, adding up some more as we're looking toward, it looks like the whole road there, about 2 inches in the last hour there in Thomas County. As I zoom back out, you do see some of the storminess again. In general, if you just look at radar, you might not be that concerned, but as you look at velocity, there is really a good reason for a warning here. Maybe 61 mile an hour winds showing up now, some severe wind near Airline Road. So that's not good at all with some of this rain in the vicinity. Maybe just to the south could be a little bit higher, hard to say for sure, but going between some of our different scans, this is definitely the strongest and most well-defined velocity signature we've seen today here. 62 mile an hour wind possible there around Merrillville and Thomas County, Georgia. According to Radar Echoes, we're at a decent height, meaning we're not really high up even. So this wind definitely could be translating, causing some damage, maybe like what we saw toward parts of Lowndes County back last Monday, excuse me. Today's Sunday, of course. We're looking back almost a week though. Toward that area, toward areas further over in south central Georgia. We were watching that threat near 75, of course, back last Monday. We thought the threat there was going to be more off toward areas in north central Florida. We ended up having that kind of a bob. Now today, no formal risk, but we always have to watch here, especially with the higher rain chances, with some of these stronger storms coming in play when you have instability and moisture values mixing. Now, as we look ahead, we have some higher moisture values. We'll have to just watch to see how instability kind of comes together here and how these storms can kind of evolve based on some of the different boundaries here that are in play. But again, watching things carefully here. If trends continue, I think a new warning would have to be issued. Now, they may not continue. We still have 30 minutes on this current warning with this movement here. Not extremely fast, northeast at 20, but if these trends do continue, a new severe thunderstorm warning would have to be required downstream again for parts of Colquitt, parts of Brooks, maybe even parts of Cook County here, as they dealt with that bad weather last Monday as well. But hopefully we don't get all the way into Cook with this. Hopefully things just kind of fall apart so we can go ahead and wrap things up for tonight. We're hoping we wouldn't have to come back on, of course, but that's just the nature of things sometimes. As I'm kind of switching between some radars, so this will jump on us probably a little bit as you saw, but you see how things really have picked up here off toward the northeast of Thomasville with some of those velocity colors. So gotta really be careful here as we're looking Airline Road again, watching over toward Wilson Road here, Patton Coolidge Road. Weather Service coming in with another report there toward Tallahassee. They zoom back out on that flash flooding from earlier. Heavy rainfall report 1 mile east-southeast of Tom Brown Park. 3.09 inches of rain measured in an hour and a half from 4:30 to 6 from a retired NWS employee there in the Piney Z community. So getting that report in 1 mile east-southeast of Tom Brown Park. 4:30 to 6 there we had an inch and a half of rainfall. So that's never what you want to hear about. Obviously that rain really coming on down, causing that rapid water rise and causing some roads to have some flooding issues as we've talked about. As we go back to the north now, have to watch a little bit of that up here, maybe not quite as much, a little less urban, less rainfall rates here. Overall adding on up as we look at the whole road, we're about 2 inches in the last hour, and then storm total here we see up closer toward 2.25, so quite a bit less than what we saw, maybe 5 inches in some of the rainfall estimates to the south. Hail could have been contaminating that, a little hard to say, but again, watching things carefully. Gonna zoom back on out now. I think we're gonna take a quick break in the coverage and be back here in about 2.5 minutes. Back here in the Weather Center now, still watching things carefully with that severe thunderstorm warning in play till about 7:15. I do have some other modes here, the Doppler pulled up, so let me go ahead and switch you on over now. We'll kind of pop up our radar scope technology. You can see here in a little bit different vantage point as I'm looking between some things here in the chat session still watching this warning continue for some of these different spots. This is the Moody Air Force Base radar. It's actually showing weaker winds, but maybe a little bit of weak rotation or something trying to happen here west of Barwick. So that's something interesting. But these wind values aren't that severe nature really, but you do see maybe a wind value about 11 one way, 30 the other way, 36 maybe. So that could be a little downburst, a weak rotation. You see a little bit of that here north of Barwick as well on the edge where you would theoretically expect maybe some weak rotation. Not a tornado environment, but just something to kind of be mindful of here, something to watch. You never know what can happen in these scenarios. We had quite a few boundaries here in play. Excuse me, I'm just checking some more things here behind the scenes, trying to give you the latest information. But again, you see a lot of lightning in here as well. You see a lot of lightning in this area, so that could be indicative of a little something. So just something to watch from a different viewpoint here within the radar. So we're going to keep you updated here. We're looking into where Thomas County severe thunderstorm warning continues. Just interesting to see the winds in the opposing directions here. Still going to be watching this thread, and we'll be back here with more information in about 2.5 minutes. Back here in the Weather Center now, still watching things. I know we're looking towards dark and some of the action here in our area in North Central Florida, but not seeing too much overall on the camera here. It's been pretty quiet today here toward Bradford County in general. So that's good news, obviously. But as we look on over to our severe weather threat, we do see here Thomas County severe thunderstorm warning continuing to 7:15 here. That wind threat here with those gusts potentially up to about 60 miles an hour. So we'll continue to watch things here in the grand scheme of things here in towards southern Georgia. You see that lightning here in play, but this is the Moody radar now that we're showing you on our other system, and you see our wind potential not really showing up too much on here. So that's really good news, and if this trend continues based on now this being the closer radar, we'll go ahead and wrap the cover up in just a few minutes because it's all about radar angles here as well, and the weather service in Tallahassee not dropping the warning yet, and the Tallahassee radar still showing quite a bit of wind there, but you just never know what really is happening down to the surface. You almost want to use a combination of these, and it makes it kind of difficult because Tallahassee radar is still showing pretty strong winds here. But it just kind of depends on exactly what type and what part of the storm is being sampled here. So let me go ahead and go over the radar scope to see what I'm talking about here. On this other mode, you see 48, 53 mile an hour winds showing up, and this is a little bit higher up now, but the distances didn't really make much of a difference a moment ago either, so you just never know what's really getting down to the surface. Don't lay your guard down here while this warning's in play or if you're hearing thunder in the vicinity, but we'll just keep watching. We'll just keep tracking here around State Road 122 here in Thomas County. Of course, you can get those alerts instantaneously. Cloud_WX on Twitter as they come out for different areas of the Tallahassee, Jacksonville regions here over on Twitter. So that's Cloud_WX on Twitter for those automated alerts. Getting those out as soon as they come out from the National Weather Service offices, of course. Now, we're also watching some nasty weather toward Grady County, but nothing too impressive. Again, the wind mode here on radar not so much at all out of Moody. So, I mean, if Tallahassee radar was down, I kind of doubt we'd have a warning in play right now. It would be kind of hard to justify, but since we've seen what we've had on the Tallahassee viewpoint, they're keeping this warning in play. Still in play right now at 7:15 here for parts of southern Georgia, but we haven't got any reports in lately. Sometimes they are a little delayed up here and more rural, but had a gust of 42 miles an hour earlier toward parts there of Thomas County and Thomasville on the Mesonet site there. So that's something to kind of bear in mind as we're getting more updates here in the chat. I know they're going with a significant weather advisory now for parts of Cook Brooks and Colquitt at 7:45. Maybe a precursor for them dropping this warning. You see the rain-cooled air here toward parts of Thomasville there down to 73. This spot's a little warmer, and then these wind gusts here. Watching things in play with these as well. The latest one was 28 miles an hour there in Thomas County. You see 24 there toward Moody Air Force Base. The last update of a pretty high number. You see a lot of numbers not really showing on up there, so that's obviously a good sign. I know it gust down toward areas there in Central Florida, toward the Tampa area, Winter Haven, and 48 mile an hour reading, which is actually a little higher than maybe they were anticipating in that vicinity. No warning, I don't think, in play down there. So kind of interesting. Haven't seen a gust really like that as we're looking towards some of these other storms here in general. But you just have to kind of bear in mind what can happen. Just have to keep our eyes on the situation here. We did have a gust here pretty similar toward Marion, but that was before that warning was issued as well down there toward Ocala there. That was, we were talking about that here, giving you that heads up, of course, on that here earlier on. So just going between some different modes here within our radar. A gust of 49 there at the Jim Taylor Field area, but that was before that warning was issued down toward Ocala there and Ocala Airport when we were on talking about that threat earlier as well. So again, still watching things. If I don't get any new reports next few minutes or see anything, I'm going to go and wrap it up. You see the significant weather advisory. They're going more of 40 mile an hour wind potential there. Now they're probably tracking more of the action. They're south of Moultrie with that, but I think they're trying to count areas there. They're counting some of this other action here as well, as we're looking more with the red and green. That's actually trying us up a little bit better now, unfortunately. So that's a little bit of an uptick here in intensity on the last frame toward parts of southern Georgia. Watching things to see if there's some upscale growth. There might be a little bit. So these storms with all these boundaries here in play, energy, they can change strength pretty quickly sometimes. So you're actually seeing a little bit of identification with these winds going in opposing directions a little bit. 17 miles an hour, 17, 18. That's still not high enough maybe for severe thunderstorm though, or obviously we're talking about maybe rotation going up on our other mode, but this looks more like a downburst signature trying to evolve here, and that's what we're really watching more for based on some different values that we've been looking at, like downdraft Cape, for instance. So looking here, zooming back out, you see some of this heavy rain now, some lightning in play in southern Georgia. We'll give another radar scan or two. Again, just be careful out there. Even if I'm off, you can always get warnings. It's not this time of year, especially the other time of the year, we're really on top of it based on the tornado watches that can be issued, or just the lines, because you only have a several hour period where you could have severe weather, then it's over maybe for weeks. But this time of year, you have a threat every day pretty much for that threat popping up. So you have to just be kind of cognizant here of the dangers, of the risk in play. Again, seeing 17 one way, give or take 20 the other way. But remember, just when thunder roars, you want to go indoors here in these situations. I'll pop those tips back up for you here as the top of the hour does approach. Might check out some of those power outage numbers once again. Let's see what's going on in terms of those as we look towards southern Georgia. Numbers really haven't changed too much. Grady County 736, only 29 Thomas County. These are from about 20 minutes ago or so. So they could be gone up and could be going up just a little here in the interim. But right now it's looking more like they're going with a significant weather advisory off toward the east. Doesn't mean they couldn't upgrade based on maybe some type of signature intensifying. I'll go back over to Tallahassee's radar because that's something that we were watching here more earlier, but that signature's faded away some on that mode of the radar, more of that wind now translating out of the warning polygon, which is always good as we're getting some reports in now. So let me go ahead and see if we can switch you on over toward our other source. You can see here some of these brighter colors more off toward the east, but now some reports coming in. It'll be the threat subsiding. The Weather Service in Tallahassee had more time to go over these. 620, a tree there at 620, 1 mile southeast of Thomasville, reported down at Old Monticello Road and Plantation Drive, with power lines also reported down in the area. So that's something you have to be cognizant and careful of there in this situation. About the time we broke in, you see that just popping up on the screen here. In fact, it says 616 on this though, so you just never know. That's actually the 42 mile an hour readings. That's actually been on the screen. I apologize there. I've been switching between modes. Something new we have, pretty new on this radar scub mode with these reports as well. But we'll have another one popping up in just a second on this mode. May already be in our other system. I'll go ahead and take a look here to zoom out. See if we have that other report popping on up here. We have different systems we can use. The other system does have it. So let me go ahead and switch you on over there right now. I will show you what's happening there. You do see that report there at 620. A tree reported down Old Monticello Road there and Plantation Drive with power lines also down in the area. So this storm did verify. We thought it might. That's why we broke in here, give you some more coverage, and we've been sticking with you here over the last 40 minutes or so to keep you, your friends, and your family safe. This time of year it's more about wanting to get on for those storms that we think can verify. We can give you a good warning for here. Of some type, at least here on the air, versus maybe just a downburst that's really unpredictable. But as you look down towards Central Florida, you see some storms almost severe here in nature, just that Saddleback area down toward Volusia County. So that's interesting, but otherwise not too much. A little bit of something in southern Putnam, but just not much lightning there. Maybe a few lightning strikes, occasional lightning in that area there. If they zoom back out, watching things here, national perspective, you do have some severe thunderstorm potential off toward organized potential, that is off toward parts of Oklahoma and Texas. A severe thunderstorm watching play there till it looks like about 11 p.m. Central Time. So that's something to be watching out that way, of course, with any severe thunderstorm warnings that can arise. You see one of those polygons there off toward the north and west, one off toward the south here as we're getting more reports now in off toward the Thomasville area. I thought we had a high confidence in damage there, and unfortunately it seems that's coming to fruition. So let me go ahead and switch you back over here toward our local viewpoint now. This is giving you the very latest information here on what's happening as we're watching the situation, the task at hand. Looking here, tree reported down at Magnolia Road and the train tracks there now This was also about 6:20. So you always have to just again be careful in these situations when these winds can reach down to the surface here and cause those problems in toward Thomas County. So right around 6:20 or so. They just have canceled the warning for Thomas County now, so that's good news. But we're getting more reports in, kind of like we saw toward Lowndes County. Hopefully not quite as bad, obviously, with some injuries we had in play there. But we've been on with you since about 6:20 or so, giving you the latest. We gave you the heads up though earlier on in our coverage. In our coverage there, in the 5 o'clock hour, talking about that accident in parts of Grady County. We gave you a good heads up that Thomas County was going to be next in line for some of that danger, for some of that threat. And that's pretty much what has happened there toward that region in south central Georgia, with some damage reports coming on in there occurring in that vicinity. So again, thanks so much for tuning in, trusting me with the latest information. Gonna probably get some more reports in here of some nature, maybe not damage reports, but just watching things. You see some areas cooler than others here across the region. Cooler in Tallahassee, cooler in Thomasville, still warmer in Valdosta. Theoretically, if we get some of this accident to come together, could still get some more nasty weather, but hopefully not. I know off toward California, Arizona, they're getting some nasty weather with considerable flash flood warnings in play here in the maroon polygons all around Las Vegas in general there. That's something they have to be cognizant of with that life-threatening flash flooding, because they don't get that much rain out there in this time of year, though, that you can get more rain in these areas, and I think to add to some issues there with some water kind of just running off real quick and not going to areas it needs to be in. But back to the local area, no active warnings anymore. Hopefully we don't get any more warnings, but of course if we need to break back in, we will. Again, we gave you that heads up well in advance of that threat in Thomas County there, and we ended up having the worst weather maybe of the day there. I mean, we talked about the flash flooding in Leon County as well with our 5 o'clock hour coverage, but in that threat, we saw that wind pocket there even in northeastern Leon as it was translating off toward parts of Grady and Thomas counties. Thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. Have a great night. We'll be back in the morning, unless we need to break back in earlier as we watch those moisture levels go up some. We'll have to see how much instability is around, though, and see how things can kind of come together.